or welcome back to A Game of Fans and Thrones. My name's Hannah, and this is my 2022 priority reads video. Now this is kind of split up, I'm just checking I haven't left anyone there. This is kind of split up into the standalones or series, or the second book hasn't been announced, series that I really want to finish, and series that have been completed, or I have a lot of them, or I've started it. Does that make sense? Anyway, we're just going to dive right in, and I think this is going to be a long video, so you might want to grab a drink. So, first on my list is the last, it's Kingdom of Souls, The Last Witch Doctor by Barton. I know this, I believe the sequel for this has just come out, but I'm not 100% sure. And all I know about this one is that it is witch doctory. Ara yearns for magic of her own, but she fails at all magic, fails to see the future, and fails to call upon the ancestors. And her mother is ambitious and looks upon her with disapproval. But you can trade magic. The cost will be years from your life, but that's something that Ara would never do until children start to disappear from her city. And I think it is the Demon King that she swaps, that she trades with. This was an Illumicrate edition, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure. I've had it that long. So that's book 1. The next book is The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. I just think this is cute, and I'm getting quite into my romance contemporaries at the moment. So we have Leon, who occupies this one-bed flat during the day because he works nights, and then Tiffy has the run of the place the rest of the time. So it sounds like a perfect solution, because they share the flat, they share a bed, but they've never met. But obviously things are going to happen with obsessive ex-boyfriends, wrongly imprisoned brothers, and of course the fact that they still haven't met yet seems this flatshare is more complicated than expected. I did read The Switch and did thoroughly enjoy that, so it'll be interesting to see where she started. Yes, I know this is a series because it says so right here, but the second book hasn't been announced. So this is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. The first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf, and you'll see a bit of a theme with the next couple of books as well. As the only second daughter born in centuries, Red has one purpose: to be sacrificed to the wolf in the wood to save her kingdom. She's almost relieved to go. She has a power she can't control, and at least she knows that in the wilder wood she can't hurt those she loves. But the wolf is a man, not a monster. Her magic is a calling and not a curse, and if she doesn't learn how to use it, the wilder wood and her world will be lost forever. Then, can you guess the theme yet? We have The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid. This is a Red Riding redo, I think. A dark, evocative and unforgettable fantasy debut steeped in Hungarian history and Jewish mythology. We follow Aviki, who's the only woman in her village without power. She's treated like an outcast due to her corrupted bloodline, so when soldiers arrive from the Holy Order of Woodsman to claim a girl for the king's blood sacrifice, Aviki is sent off. Monsters attack. En route to the capital, they slaughter everybody but Aviki and the captain. This captain is the disgraced prince, and it's his brother who plans to seize the throne and instigate a reign of religious persecution and ethnic cleansing. So Aviki and the captain form a is packed because they have no one else to rely on. And this is a gorgeous edition. The last one of this theme was Red Wolf by Rachel Vincent. Again, another Red Riding retelling. Oh, and I still haven't put the signed bookplate in. Let's do that soon. So we follow 16-year-old Adele, who is a guardian, woman who secretly take on the form of a wolf in order to protect the village. This village is surrounded by a forest filled with terrible monsters and a forest that light cannot penetrate. And Adele's life and the lives of every villager she watches over depend on that secret that she turns into a wolf being kept. But when accepting her fate means giving up the boy she loves, abandoning the future she imagined for herself and breaking her own moral code, she must decide how far she is willing to go to keep her neighbours safe. And we'll pop that in there so I remember to stick it in. The next two, I think there's another standalone. There's a couple of other standalones, but I don't know where they've gone. I think this is all there is. Right. I did have this organised, I promise. We have We Are Blood and Thunder by Kessia Lupo. In a city where magic is feared and the dead are worshipped, life is overshadowed by a powerful and devastating storm cloud. One woman is running for her life, the other is trying to return home. Both are looking for a place where they belong. But what Lena and Constance don't realise is that the storm cloud binds them. Without each other, neither can get what she desires. Then we have another contemporary romance. This one is Carrie Hope Fletcher's When the Curtain Falls. In 1952, Thorne brothers Burroughs and Walter Brown met backstage in a beautiful West End theatre during the production of When the Curtain Falls. But they must hide their love from the one person who will stop at nothing to keep Thorne for himself. Flash forward 70 years later, new production arrives at the theatre, bringing Oscar Bright and Olive Green and their budding romance. No sooner have the cast settled into their dressing rooms when strange things begin to happen. Soon they're being haunted by the ghosts of past productions, or so the story goes. Next we have 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. As the ward of the wealthy Mr. Locke, January Skeller feels little different from the artefacts that decorate his suburban mansion, carefully maintained, largely ignored and utterly out of place. But when she finds a strange book, one that tells a tale of secret doors, love and adventure, for the first time January realises that she can escape her story and sneak into someone else's. I did read The Once and Future Witches, it's right here, and I did enjoy that. I enjoyed her storytelling. We have The Deathless Girls by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. This is a breathtaking origin story of the brides of Dracula. Need I say anything more? But we follow 17-year-old Lil and her twin sister Kizzy, and I believe that these girls are Romany Gypsy, and they are captured by Boya Valkar, forced to work as slaves, stripped of hope, power and everything they've known, until Mira gives Lil someone to live for and someone to love. And then the sisters hear of the mythical dragon, who accepts girls as gifts, more monster than man, and their desperate existence is threatened once more. So, we know who the dragon is. Then, which segues nicely into this beast, this is Empire of the Vampire by Ajit Kristoff. This is the very new edition, I want to say. Oh, Illumicrate. It's 1 of 3. And this is the start of a new series. I know, I think I'm a series reader more than a standalone, but we'll get to that. This follows Gabrielle de Leon, half man, half monster, and last remaining Silver Saint, in the 20 years, and it has been 20 years since the last sunrise. vampires have waged war against humanity, and Gabriel is telling this story, I believe, but he's a sworn brother of the Holy Silver Order, dedicated defending the realm from the creatures of the night. And I believe this is obviously a vampire story, but I believe it also deals with the Holy Grail, and it is told in a bit of a interview format, a bit like wherever it's gone. The Wise Man's The Name of the Wind does it. But I'm excited to read this one, but it's massive. And then we just get into the mess that is series. Now, some of these I have started, some of these I haven't started, and some I'm halfway through. But this is Dark Age by P.S. Brown. This is the final book, I want to say, in the Red Rising series. Obviously I can't talk to you about this one, but Red Rising follows the story of Darrow, who starts as a miner on Mars as a Red, the lowest of the low. The caste system in this is based on colours. So Darrow is quite happily mining for Helios 3 on Mars, because him and the other Reds have been told that they are terraforming the planet, ready for inhabitants for the surface. His wife Io doesn't really buy that, and she martyrs herself. That's not a spoiler, happens quite early on. But then we find out that Io was right, and there is a bigger conspiracy going on, and Darrow decides that he's going to take the system down from the inside out and become a gold. Gold is the ruling class, and what follows is madness and chaos. And this is actually the second in another. It's the second in a second trilogy, I think, because after Morning Star, we do have a bit of a gap before Iron Gold picks up. So this is the direct sequel to Iron Gold, but it is the last in the books for the Red Rising series, I believe. I could be wrong. Then we have Fire and Flood by George R.R. Martin. This is a prequel to the Game of Thrones books. 300 years before Game of Thrones, an even greater game began, one that set the skies alight with dragon flame and saw the Seven Kingdoms turn to ash. So began the Targaryens' bloody rule with fire and blood, setting brother against brother, mother against daughter, and dragon against dragon. Chronicled by a learned master of the Citadel, this thrilling and bloody history of Westeros tells the story of where the battle for the Iron Throne began. I'm hoping to get to this before Winter comes out, but considering he keeps moving the date on that, we're good, methinks. We have Redempta by Jordan Ifecko. This is the sequel to Raybearer, and I believe this is just a duology. But in Raybearer we meet Tarasai, who is quite isolated. She only knows her mother, but she's not allowed to call her mother mother. She has to call her, she's known as the Lady. And when Tarasai was born, the Lady made a wish so that Tarasai would obey only her. And that wish was that, and then the obey came in the sense that Tarasai is sent to the capital to gain the trust of the Crown Prince and kill him. This is the fallout from that first book. Then we have the Hawthorne Legacy, which is the sequel to the Inheritance games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The Inheritance games is just a fun murder mystery. But it's not so much a murder mystery, it's just a puzzle-solving mystery where our main character, Avery, is plucked from general obscurity to try and find out why this guy, Tobias Hawthorne, left her near enough his entire fortune. This is the fallout for the first book. Then we have these are all just mixed up, so I'm just going to go with it. We have Winterkeep by Cashow in the very pretty cover. This is a companion to the Graceling realm. I think I can tell you what's happening in this because it just follows a character from Bitterblue. But Winterkeep is a land of miracles, a democratic republic, a place where people speak to telepathic sea creatures and adopt telepathic foxes as pets. This is very shiny. When Queen Bitterblue's envoys to Winterkeep drown under suspicious circumstances, she and Gideon and her half-sister Heather set off to discover the truth. Lavissa Cavender is a teenage daughter of a powerful scholar with a fire inside her that is always hungry. She's the key to everything, but only if she can figure out what's going on in Winterkeep before anyone else, and only if she's willing to transcend the person she's been all her life. We have the next two books in A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is a very loose retelling of Beauty and the Beast by Sarah J. Maas. We have A Court of Winds and Ruin and the novella A Court of Frost and Starlight. I am waiting for Silver Flames to come out in paperback, and I'm going to catch up with the series before I buy it. We have The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. This is the sequel to The Bone Season, where we follow Paige Mahoney in a world who is a psychic. She's clairvoyant in a world where clairvoyancy is outlawed. And I think this series has been doing the rounds on BookTube, but I don't really want to tell you much about the first one because the synopsis is quite vague, and I think it's better going into that one blind and you get all of the reveals, and this is obviously the fallout to the first book. We have The Last Graduate by Novik. This is lesson 2 of the Scholomance, and in the Scholomance, which started with a deadly education, we follow Elle, who is a bit of an outcast. She's snarky and I love her, in a school where these monsters are trying to kill her. It's actually safer for these magic kids to be in the school, as the school teaches them how to survive and hunt in the Maleficara, which takes the form of monsters, and they are basically locked in the school and have to fight their way out in graduation. So I don't really know much more to tell you about that one. We have The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. This is the sequel to the 5th season. The 5th season is a post-apocalyptic dystopian story following 3 different points of view, where everyone is just trying to do the best they can in a world that's basically trying to kill them. And then there are people who can control the seasons as such. It's a wild ride, but a very fun ride at the same time. Then we have this teeny tiny book, which shouldn't take too long. This is Phoenix Flame by Sarah Holland, the sequel to Havenfall. I did get Havenfall in a subscription box. And that one felt more like a prequel to an actual novel, and I think this one might feel the same. But in Havenfall, Maddie goes to an inn, and she was just hoping to spend some time there with her friends, but then her friend doesn't turn up, and a mystery ensues. This is the fallout to that, and I am very interested to see where this one goes, especially since it's so short. Now I think we get on to the books that everybody is going to at me for. Maybe. There are a couple in here that I think are a little bit less well known. But we have the next 2 books in Kirsten White's And I Darken trilogy, I'm going to call them. These are Gender Bent Vlad the Impaler origin story. So we have Bright We Burn and Now I Rise. No, it doesn't bug me that these covers don't match because they are both floppy. So I'm hoping to get to them. I did really enjoy And I Darken. A very good villain origin story. I felt someone's probably going to tell me no. Then we have next two in the Midnight Queen trilogy. Now I did read the first one, which was the Midnight Queen, and I thought it was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars, but I am intrigued enough to see if the writing gets better, and if I want to, and if I've got the books here, so you guys know I don't really like to unhaul books without giving them a try first. So this is Lady of Magic and A Season of Spells by Sylvia Hunter. This follows Sophie and Gray, who Sophie is the daughter of a professor who teaches magic, and Gray is an ex-student of the professor, and things happen so that Gray ends up being pretty much under house arrest in the professor's country home. This is set in an England that is split up into 7 countries, or has different, or it has like different names. But yeah, I can't tell you much more about it because I can't remember. But I do want to finish off the series because I am a completist. Then we have A Discovery of Witches Book 2, which is A Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness. I think everybody knows about Discovery of Witches now. We follow a witch and a vampire who fall in love, who really shouldn't be falling in love. And this is the sequel to that. I think I'm getting tired now, can you tell? And we still have lots more books to go. We have Children of Blood and Bone by Tonia Diemi. I do have the sequel, my sister is just reading it. But I think I don't really need me to tell you about this one. Following Zeli, who lives in Orisha and remembers when the soil hummed with magic, when the different clans ruled. Everything changed on the night that magic disappeared under orders of a ruthless king. Anybody with powers was targeted and killed, leaving the Zeli without mother and her people without hope. Zeli is a hidden magic user. She has a chance to bring magic back to her people and strike against the monarchy. So I'll get to this one eventually. Then we have... I'm trying to organise this so that I've just found another standalone and I want to read the near which by V.E. Schwab. This was her debut, I believe. Following Lexi, who's been told that she needs to avoid the wind, but when an actual stranger, where there is no strangers in this town, appears, a boy who seems to fade like smoke. He appears outside her house on the moor at night. She knows that at least one of those scenes is no longer true. Next night, children of Nia start disappearing from their beds, and the mysterious boy falls under suspicion. The hunt for the children intensifies, and so does Lexi's need to know about the witch, who might just be more than a bedtime story. I also have next 2 books, the second and third book in a Dark Shade of Magic series, Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light. Again, I don't think you really need me to tell you much about this trilogy, but we follow Kel, who is a world walker. He's able to navigate between these 4 different Londons, and he picks up a Lila Bard, who we don't really know much about, but we follow her and join them on their adventures. The first book did feel more like a character study or an introduction to the world and these characters, which was an interesting one. Then we have The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 3 in the Mistborn series, the conclusion to Mistborn Era 1. I cannot tell you anything about this one because it's a sequel, but I think everybody knows about Mistborn books anyway. They are quite popular on BookTube, but in this world we have Allomancers who are able to ingest different metals to get different powers out of them. If you can only handle one type of metal, you are an Allomancer. If you can handle 2 or more, you are a Mistborn. And we follow Kel in the first book, who is a Mistborn, as he is trying to lead a rebellion against the ruler. The general premise of Mistborn Era 1, at least, is what happened if the bad guy won, what happened if the big bad is in charge. Then we have, I'll talk about these next because why not? We have the entire Nevernight series by J. Kristoff. I think these are intimidating as well because of how well known they are, but they are Nevernight, God's Grave, and Dark Dawn. We follow Mia, who is only 10 years old when she sees her family get murdered, I believe. She's raised in shadows and ends up training among the infamous assassins of the Red Church. So we have that, the story about blood, death and guts and gore. Then we have the Extinction Trials Book 2 Exile by S.M. Wilson. I recently read The Extinction Trials, which is again a bit of a post-apocalyptic dystopian novel where dinosaurs are back and the remaining humans are trying to coexist with the dinosaurs. We follow Stormchaser and Lincoln in this world, and at the end of book 1 they did discover quite a big conspiracy, but I am interested in knowing where this ends, and I'm putting this on the list because it's not something I normally reach for with being more sci-fi, but I am intrigued about this and I want to pick it up before I forget what happens in the first one, which is what normally happens. Then we have the next, well, we have 3 books in the Rivers of London series by Ben Aragonich. We have Broken Homes, Foxglove Summer, and Lies Sleeping. I believe I am missing one, and I think it's in between Foxglove Summer and Lies Sleeping as well. I think I need another one if I can continue fully. But these are magic murder mystery stories following Pacey Grant, who is I don't know if he's a proper policeman or if he's just training, but he ends up, in the first book, Rivers of London, he ends up getting involved in a ghostly mystery trying to solve a murder where the only witness is the victim himself. It is the ghost. And those ones I can't really binge read. I need a gap in between because there's something, they are enjoyable, but I think they are to be spread out, otherwise it's probably just going to be the same thing over and over with an overarching plot. Then we have a finale. This is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Maheron, the conclusion to the Serpent and Dove trilogy, following Lou and Reed. Lou is a witch, Reed is a witch hunter. Circumstances ensue that mean Lou and Reed are married. This is the conclusion to that, and I did like where the second book, Blood and Honey, left off. We have Deathless Divide by Justina Ireland. This is the sequel to Dread Nation, set in post-Civil War America where zombies are a thing. We follow Jane, who as a coloured person is sent to a school to learn how to kill zombies, because in this world, if you are black or black passing or coloured or basically non-white, you are only good for killing zombies. So you go train, you can either be an attendant, which is like a bodyguard, which is technically safer, or you just go out on the front lines. This is the conclusion to that. I think it's a conclusion. The girls did discover quite a bit of conspiracy as well, so I'm interested to see where that goes. We have the next trilogy, I'm going to say, within the wider study series, which started with Poison Study, Magic Study, Fire Study, but this is Shadow Study, Night Study and Dawn Study by Maria B. Schneider. And I can't read from the back of this one because obviously it's a trilogy within a trilogy within a world. But basically in Poison Study we met Yelena Zeltana, who was imprisoned. I can't remember entirely what she was imprisoned for, but she is given a second chance at life, and that involves becoming a poison taster for the king. Now Zelena has magic, and I can't remember exactly what that magic is, but she's persecuted for that because, as usual, the world that she lives in doesn't like magic people. So she does find solace, and that is a good adventure story. The second trilogy is called Glass. I call it the Glass trilogy because all of the titles have something to do with glass in it. I think it's Sea Glass, Storm Glass and Spyglass, and they follow a different character that we meet in the first trilogy. This goes back to the original trilogy, I believe. Then we are getting to the end, I promise. We have 2 books in the wider Shadowhunters world. We have the Lost Book of the White by Cassandra, Clare and Wesley Schum. This is the sequel to the Red Scrolls of Magic, which is a more adult iteration, which follows Magnus and Alec on their gap year to Europe. In the first book, it is discovered that Magnus started a cult as a bit of a joke, and someone has resurrected that cult, taking it a lot more seriously, and it is a demon worshipping cult. Then in Ghosts of the Shadow Market, this is by Cassandra, Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, Maureen Johnson, Kelly Link and Robin Wasserman. These are novellas, all set within the Shadow Market, which is a meeting point for fairies, werewolves and vampires. In the market is hidden a lost heir and a beloved ghost, but no one can save you once you've traded away your heart. So I think there are a couple of short stories in this. Ooh, that has a picture. But yeah, I'll probably just read these novellas. We have 2 series left. This is a long video, I apologise. But we have the Grishaverse books. I have read the Shadow and Bone series. I have that on Kindle, so I read that digitally. I did listen to Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom on audio, but I do want to reread them physically before I continue. So I can tell you about this one. Criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker has been offered a chance at a deadly heist, break into the Ice Court, a military stronghold that has never been breached, and retrieve a hostage whose knowledge could change Grisha magic forever. To succeed would mean riches beyond Kaz's wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. Convict with a thirst for revenge, sharpshooter who can't work away from a wager, but run away with a privileged past, a spy known as the Wraith, a heartrender using her magic to escape the slums, and a thief with a gift for unlikely escapes. 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. Together they might be unstoppable if they don't kill each other first. I think we all know where that list of characters trend on books came from. Then obviously I want to reread Crooked Kingdom before moving on to A King of Scars, which follows 3 characters, 2 from Shadow and Bone trilogy, 1 from the Six of Crows duology. So I can't tell you anything about this one other than I believe can I tell you? It follows Nikolai, and where it left off from Moon and Rising, I believe. And then we have an entire series. Now this has been on my priority list for a while, and I can't believe I still haven't got to it. But it is the Three Dark Crowns books by Kendall Blake, including the novella. So the novellas are Queens of Feniburn, and the two books in here are The Young Queens and The Oracle Queen. We have Three Dark Crowns. In every generation on the island of Feniburn, a set of triplets is born. 3 queens, all equal heirs to the crown, all possessed of the coveted magic. Mirabella is a fierce elemental, can spark hungry flames with a click of a finger. Catherine is a poisoner, known to be resistant to the deadliest of snake bites. And Arsinoe, a naturalist, is rumoured to have the ability to bloom the reddest of roses. But becoming the queen crowned is not just a matter of royal birth. These 3 sisters must fight to the death for the throne, and on the night they turn 16, the battle begins. Only one queen can inherit the crown, and I think this edition is probably Arsinoe's edition, because there are 3 different editions following each of the sisters. Then the sequel is One Dark Throne, and then we have 2 Dark Reigns, and 5 Dark Fates, and I think that's all of them. So that's it. I have to find some way to put these so they don't get lost back on the shelves, and that's it for this video. If you liked it, give it a like and hit that subscribe button if you want to see this and talk about these, and I'll see you in the next one. And a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because I know this is going up on Christmas Eve.